vocal group was regarded by many fans as one of the finest groups to ever record R&B music. The group was a consistent, valuable act during the 50s. This group had numerous lead vocalists, each specializing in something different. The group produced enough successes to remain relevant even if there was barely candidates for the top spot in the doo-wop rankings. The centerpiece of today's story is all about the 5 keys. Now, before we start, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push that notification bell to be sure you won't miss out on any more uploads. Now without further ado, let's cue that intro. This story begins in Newport News, Virginia in the mid-40s with a group that was set around 2 sets of brothers, Rudy and Bernie Ress and Ripley and Raphael Ingram. The brothers performed at school, talent shows, and receiving accolades for their range in singing in everything from gospel, pop, to rock. After winning the prestigious amateur night contest at the Apollo Theater in New York in the summer of 1949, the newly formed 5 Keys began to change their lineup, with Raphael departing later in 1949. The group now included Rudy and Bernie West, Ripley Ingram, Dickie Smith, and Marilyn Pierce. The group's initial name was the Sentimental Four, before it was changed to the 5 Keys when Raphael departed. I'ma butt in right here. Future me is talking. Now, while editing this video, I came to realize that I forgot to mention a few people's names. One, I forgot to mention that piano player who go by the name Virginia Joe Jones, and also that guitarist who go by the name Rocky Mount Joe Jones. Also, an original member when the group was called the Sentimental Four who go by the name Edwin Hall. There was also some more members of the group that I didn't mention, mainly because they was just there to fill in and they never actually recorded with the group. Now, continue with the video. The group signed a deal with Aladdin Records in the winter of 1951. Now, as the second phase of the vocal group boom and rock began, the group topped the charts with a soulful interpretation of the pop song, The Glory of Love. And let your heart break a little. Rudy led the group's first success, which was followed by It's Christmas Times. Have fallen and Now, with the group having a #1 hit, they followed in the footsteps to their closest contemporaries with the Dominoes, the Clovers, and the Orioles, who all had #1 R&B hits that same year. That next year, the group released songs such as Yes Sir, That's My Baby, Ma'am, I've decided, no ma'am, there's no you, Darling, Be Anything But Be Mine, Be Anything But Darling, Mistakes, That Bring Heartaches, and the I Hadn't Anyone Tell You, Till You, and I Cry For You. Now it's your turn to cry. Although none of these songs was financially successes, they was well known for their singing abilities and remained it as one of Aladdin hallmark singers during the early 50s. Because the group was so young, just being in their 20s, the draft, they came knocking, and Rudy Ress, who was the group's most famous lead vocalist, was drafted into the military in late 1952. West, who was replaced by Ulysses Hicks, and shortly after, Dickie Smith was also drafted into the military and was formally replaced by Ramon Loper, bringing the group's contract with Aladdin Records to an end. That next year, the group released 10 singles, most notably Can't Keep From Crying,
Give me one more chance with you. Just let me through.
Mama,
Oh, mama, your daughter told a lie.
These Foolish Things,
Remind me of you.
Teardrops in Your Eyes,
I wonder why.
and Obey.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
In mid-1954, the group recorded a one-off session with RCA Records before signing with Capitol Records. That same year, they released some of their most noteworthy tracks with Love My Lovin',
When the piano plays so blue,
Deep in My Heart,
I know won't come true, but what?
and Lean Ting Tong.
To get some egg foo young, and then I heard a gong.
After Rudy was discharged from the military, Hicks, who was scheduled to be free from the group in just a few months, had sadly passed away from a heart attack at the age of 25 in 1955. Following Hicks' death, Rudy officially replaced his spot. That same year, the group released singles such as Close Your Eyes,
Open your heart and whisper, I love you, I love you,
My Love,
I love you. You'll never know.
The Verdict,
What can the verdict be?
Didn't You Know I Love You,
Don't you know I love you? Don't you know I love you?
'Cause You're My Lover,
My lover.
and G. Whittaker's.
Gee Whittakers, all you want.
The group's early work with Capitol Records was successful both economically and artistically. The group's charted songs, Close Your Eyes, The Verdict, 'Cause You're My Lover, and G. Whittaker's made them one of the most more in-demand rock acts on multi-artist bills. However, around this time, Capitol Records decided to experiment with the group's success and began having them record with pure pop backings. The group supported the move, assuming that it would lead to higher payouts in live venues, despite being drowned out by white female chorus and sappy streams, which harmed their rock reputations while progressively reducing their financial momentum. That was the dilemma. Rock would provide the group with the hits that they needed to fetch a higher prices for the nightclub dates, where the rock stuff would be warmly received, while their pop stuff with the 16-piece orchestra might work in certain situations. But sadly, it will not sell 5 copies since rock fans will not buy them, nor will their pop music loving parents. During the remainder of the 50s, the group had 3 charted singles with Out of Sight, Out of Mind,
So the story goes.
Wisdom of a Fool,
To have someone who loves you, then be glad that you've got.
and Let There Be You.
Let there be light, and there was.
Rudy Rest departed from the group in early 1958 to marry, and Dickie Threat took his place. But Mount Loper departed the group soon after and was replaced by Bobby Crowley. But the group was allegedly not appealing to Capitol Records without its most recognizable frontman, so they left Capitol and decided to sign with King Records, where Dickie Smith rejoined the group after a 3-year absence to replace Crowley. With the group signing to King, the label decided to push them back in a more authentic sound. But by that point, the group's brand had either tarnished by their pop recordings or they had been gone from the limelight so long to score any singles. Despite being done extremely successfully, the doo-wop renaissance of the 60s did nothing to aid the group's new tunes. Ironically, Rudy obtained a solo deal with King Records, but he never had any hits, and rather than banding together, with his former group to make one final push for relevancy, the group decided to split up in the early 60s. Marilyn formed another touring group under the same name, and throughout the following 3 decades, numerous of people joined the group, but at the time they was only able to get 2 of the original members together at a time. Although the group earned some belated recognition for their work in the 90s, they was never nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame since becoming eligible. The group was inducted into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame in 2002. Rudy Rest sadly passed away from a heart attack on May 14, 1998 at the age of 65. Lamont Loper passed away from a short illness on October 16, 2002. And Dickie Threat passed away on October 9, 2007. Now before we go, I have a question for you guys. What is your favorite song from the 5 Keys?